I convene the August 17, 2024 Strategic Planning Committee meeting to order at 7 p.m. Jackie, please call the roll.
Emily Swistak, absent. Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Karen Larson, absent. Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Vanessa Berry.
Here.
Debbie Bryan.
Here.
Josh Martin.
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Will Savage.
Here.
John Ferrari.
Here.
Elizabeth Hopkins, absent. Paul Hurt.
Here.
Laura Murphy.
Here. Thank you. Agenda item 2, opportunity for visitors to speak. Public comment is for the general public to address the board. Each person will have up to 5 minutes to provide public comment. Seeing as no one's here, we'll go to agenda item 3, approve minutes of the July 1st, 2024 Strategic Planning Committee meeting. May I have a motion and a second?
I move to approve the minutes of the July 1st, 2024 Strategic Planning Committee.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Revision? No? Roll call, Jackie?
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Vanessa Berry.
Aye.
Debbie Bryan.
Aye.
Josh Martin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Jackie. Laura.
Oh, Tatiana Weinstein.
Aye.
Will Savage.
Aye.
John Ferrari.
Aye.
Paul Hurt.
Aye.
Laura Murphy.
Aye. Thank you. Item 4, discussion about the public survey. Tatiana, would you walk us through that?
Sure, will do. Okay, so in the packet, you see there is a draft kind of overview, blue colored, that's what it'll look like online. And then at the very next page, there's an introduction. So what I'm going to do is, or what I've done is I took notes from the last committee meeting, all of our questions, there were some recommendations to combine some questions to make sense. And we'll go over the draft and all of the questions and see if we're all on the same page. I heard between the last meeting and this meeting, there were some, from my department directors, there were some recommendations. So that's why we're here. We're here to talk about those questions. And because we're down 2 trustees, I don't imagine this will be our last meeting for this because we still have to determine the schedule. Like, when are we gonna put this out there and launch it? How long do we want it out in the world? And do we wanna also pair that with a paper or copy? And do we wanna do the like trustee talk tables in the lobby to ask people questions or encourage them to take the paper survey or the online survey? Do we want to schedule people to announce that we have a survey? We have to determine whether or not we want to put a postcard out to the public for the survey, and so on. So this will be our last meeting. So let's take a look at the introductory paragraph. It's short and sweet. Are there any comments about that, first of all?
Does anyone have any?
Sure.
I was just asking if we might want to name the 4 departments. Only asking, I wouldn't know, other than being on the board, what they specifically are. Just a suggestion, if it's not vital, of course.
Do people feel?
I think that's a good suggestion.
I think
Okay.
that's
That's a good idea.
All right.
Only caveat being, who would know what technical services means, other than someone
Would
who
know
works
what
in the building?
company?
Like, if we were to say, like, the different departments, a lot of that is kind of library jargon, like, head of technical
Right.
services. Sorry, Laura.
That's okay.
I don't think my wife could tell you what the head of technical services does.
Okay.
But that's just a point. We can do it, but
Well, I mean, if we get a question, we can always answer it
Right. That's
true.
too, so.
yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, if people are so interested, we have that terminology on our website, we outline the directors of the different departments. Your comment is valid, because that term, people are like, you guys must do computer stuff, your technical services, that's what they always get. But that's the term in library
Maybe
land.
there's just a link to the spot on the website that talks about, so that if people are confused by terminology,
We can
get to that page.
link to the contact us page or something.
You make it like a different color, yeah, so it's like a hot.
That's a good idea.
We'll see if Google Forms allows me. I think we can do that. All right. Okay, can we move on outside of this introductory paragraph? Do we want more or less? Do we think this is adequate to introduce somebody to the, okay. Okay, next question is what type of programs most interest you and what time of day would be most convenient? And this is the one where we've combined, in the previous discussion, we had talked about the types of programs and then one of the department directors suggested putting them together. What's that? Oh, the table's moving. So this is what we did, and so we listed out all of the programs, offered a none of the above as well, broke it up between mornings, middays, evenings, and weekends. Does this look good? Do we like? Any other suggestions?
Did you want to ask about like entertainment or something? Is that kind of, I mean, leather talks, educational, music programs or something. I don't know, I'm thinking of the Sunday programs that used to be part of the Friends group that I know, I'm speaking for my seniors, of course, they're always liking, to have those Sunday afternoon kind of programs. And I feel like I would love to see, what the interest is amongst our group if it was something.
So do you recommend like music?
Yeah, or senior programs maybe,
Or,
or adults, I don't know.
How would you categorize the one that's coming up on the 31st? That's music, right?
Music, yeah. And Elizabeth can speak to this once she gets up to speed. But we're on the first question, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
We have, since the Friends have stopped doing the music programs, we have taken that on. So Adult Services has been scheduling them, and I don't know, quarterly?
Quarterly.
Okay.
Okay.
So
good,
music.
good. Okay, yeah.
We can add that
So
for
I think
sure.
maybe add that in, yeah, I think, because I know that probably draws a pretty good crowd.
Any other? Okay. The next one is just an open question for people who have other ideas. If you go to the next page, have you ever utilized the Seed Library or renewed your Illinois license sticker at the library? Please check all the non-traditional programs and services you've accessed. And this question came about because we wanted, somebody made a comment about should we offer more non-traditional, but we also wanted to educate the public as to the non-traditional services and collections that we have. So there's a number here listed. Do you think we need to add more or less?
I would suggest we add hotspots and Rokus.
Okay. So internet hotspots and Rokus.
I second that.
Thank you.
Laura?
I was just going to say, I do wonder whether or not the low vision reader and magnifier is necessarily a non-traditional library service, since most do carry that. As well as I guess it's just the Museum Pass program is something that I think all libraries have.
I was thinking of it more as like, when the general public thinks library, they're thinking books. So
Right.
like, what do we provide that isn't books? So I think it fits.
I would add, if the point of the question is to see if people were aware, they could not utilize something because they don't know that it's there. They could also not utilize something because it doesn't suit their needs, and they are aware. So maybe we could add a column, just were you aware that you had this service, and then if you utilized it, that way we know, they didn't know and that's why they didn't. Or they do know about it and they didn't utilize it just because it's not of their interest.
I'm not sure, I think what you're saying is good, but I'm not sure the question is about, did you know we had them? I mean, I think the icing on the cake is educating the public as to what we have. I think the question is, it originated from, should we add more non-traditional types of things here,
And you do have the very last one, I never knew you had all these things, which kind of encompasses even if you didn't know one of the things.
Yeah, it does let people know that. But, like some libraries are loaning out cooking pans, and some libraries are loaning out musical instruments. And we wanted to know if patrons were interested in these non-library, non-traditional library things, and that's where this came from. We can change what we're asking about here, but that's where it came from. And yes, secondarily, it does educate people as to what we have, so. I think the hotspots and Rokus is new enough that we could add that, for sure. Anything else?
Could we sort of workshop the question itself and just take out, have you ever utilized da-da-da-da, and just start with, please check all the non-traditional program services you've accessed?
Okay, what do we think? This is not just to me, everybody.
I think
This
it
is
would
the
match the
committee.
format of the rest of your questions.
I
or our
drafted
questions.
this, but I want everybody to contribute.
When I
please.
read it, it kind of threw me like, oh, it's conversational, like, have you ever done this? So I don't know, I would just take that line out and cut to the chase.
I mean, the next two are worded similarly. Instead of saying, please check the non-traditional, just check all that apply.
So maybe this is a good time for my question, which is, I think the general order of the questions probably needs to be reworked a little bit, because it goes from questions about programming to do you have a library card, back to which formats do you choose, and then back to programming.
Sure,
So
we can reorder this.
yeah, but I think that if you started with just one of those questions in that format, Will, and then moved on to abbreviating the question itself, people will gather you're asking the same thing, even though you don't repeat yourself throughout the question. So that was kind of in a survey design type of mindset. Might be easier to lead them into what you're trying to get them to answer by putting them all similarly formatted questions in the same order or similar section.
Did you have a suggestion for the order of the question?
Well, I was thinking first should be, do you have a library card? I think that's kind of right out the gate, the first thing we should ask. And then I would say, starting with whether it's programming or materials, it should be one of those two blocked together in that order. And then at the end should be the suggestions on the development of the piece of land. Just trying to keep things well aligned and uniform in terms of not bouncing back and forth between, is this a program question, is it a materials question, and helping people stay in the right mindset of what we're trying to get them to answer.
Can I play devil's advocate for
Yeah.
library card as the first question? I'm a little worried if someone doesn't have a card, that if they see that question number one, they're like, well, maybe this survey's not for me.
Then at the end, I just,
Okay.
wherever it is, having it in the middle, the third question, when you immediately pick back up with other programming questions,
Okay.
it just kind of breaks some of the natural flow of what we're asking for.
Sure, we can totally
Yeah.
rearrange.
I would agree with it being with all the other demographic questions at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, that's fine too, exactly.
Yeah.
You're right, there's other demographic questions, I think that's a good spot for it.
Okay, great. Back to
I was
Elizabeth's
gonna say,
suggestion. Do we like the introductory kind of question, or do we think we should just say, please check all the non-traditional programs you've accessed?
My question would be how much they are going to be and you're on your cell phone, so you can tell me whether or not you see all of that. Because what if you just read, have you ever utilized the seed library? And again, like you're running into your.
You can, but you're not seeing it. He's only seeing it at PDF.
Oh, the PDF?
Yeah, it's, because I have the live on Google Forms right
Okay.
now, so it does.
Yeah, but it might make more sense to have the questions shorter and more straightforward,
Mhm.
just for people who are reading them on their phone or iPad or whatever.
Do we all agree?
I do.
Okay.
I have a question. Should we, or would it serve any purpose to ask if you have an LLD library card? We get several people that aren't.
Oh, just the,
I mean, does it matter, or is that a way?
you could just say
of-
Lisle library card, that's
But is
fine.
that a way of knowing that we have outside residents?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. If you
Just-
want to know who has our card.
In addition to that, like after that question, can we ask, because I want to know if you use the library and how often you come into the library.
And that is valid because I know that was mentioned at the last committee meeting, and I somehow missed inserting that. So that would I think in the demographic section of the questions, that should go there for sure. And we can put in like once a week, once a month, once a year, one of those. Again, this is not gonna be our first dive into this, so we'll add it in. I will add that.
Yeah. As I think more about it, there might be the question design again, an opportunity to even prime them a little bit and say, these next 4 or 5 questions are specifically about programming. As you answer these next, think about that, and then give them the short version of the question. So it's not so much a long question design, but it's getting them to think about what it is. That's, as you're approaching the
grouping.
sections, right, say these next questions are about programming, these next questions are about materials. And then you've got it even a little bit, we'd like to know more about you.
Yeah, I did that in the end,
Yes.
but I didn't do that.
Yeah, I think it makes it a little more personable and approachable,
Okay.
rather than just rapid firing questions at
And
people.
I think too, in Google Forms, you can even split it up by section.
Right, yeah.
So then it's like
Right.
bite-sized chunks instead of all at once.
That would,
Okay,
I would recommend that.
all right. So we took out the first sentence. We added hotspots and Rokus.
Mhm.
We're good with everything else here, yes?
Mhm.
Okay, and then do you have a library card? Do you or anyone in your household have a Lisle library card? Or just you?
You as the person who's filling out the survey.
Right?
Right, so.
Okay. So it's the person, so do
Yeah.
you have a Lisle library card? That will go in the demographic section, and then we're gonna add a how often do you visit or use the Lisle Library District, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And you
Next.
could add another option for the Lisle library card, like a no, but I have a library card at a different library.
Do we like that?
How would someone in the district have a card at a different library?
Because you can have.
Reciprocal?
Yeah,
Mhm.
you can have cards at multiple.
So then they would just be answering our survey, because it would be public, so anybody could go on and answer it.
But in order to have a card at another library, you have to have a card here.
Yeah.
Like I have a Naperville card, but the number is printed on my Lisle library card. And they called Lisle Library to make sure I was in good standing in order to give me a Naperville card.
A Naperville barcode.
Reciprocal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we'll put a reciprocal
Okay.
checkbox, just
Okay.
so
I
we
think
know.
This is like if grandma brings the kids to story time, but grandma lives in Bolingbrook, and grandma is here 3 times a week because she's at story time, fills out the survey. She doesn't have a Lisle card, but she has a Bolingbrook card. So she would then click the,
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different.
Okay,
That's different than what I was thinking.
okay. I guess I'm not, what were you
She
thinking of?
was mentioning the reciprocal
Right.
card.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think in the case that you're mentioning, that grandma would have a reciprocal card.
she could or
She
she
could.
couldn't.
Yeah.
She didn't, she doesn't have to attend a story time,
Yeah.
but she
Right.
could have a reciprocal.
Okay.
I guess are we trying to figure out if someone has a reciprocal card or if they just don't have a Lisle card and another card? We could ask both questions if that's.
Well, I put a box for no, but I have a card at another library.
Yes.
Because we wanna know
Mhm.
who is filling this out.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. Are we good with moving on? All right. Next question. When checking out materials, which format do you normally choose? In betwixt the last meeting and this meeting, I've had discussions with staff, so there were some recommendations to remove a couple of items and change some wording at the top, instead of format because, well, are we keeping format? I forgot.
We are keeping format, but we're removing interlibrary loans because that was the one outlier that
Okay.
is not a format.
Right. And we removed interlibrary loans because
It
a
is not
service.
necessarily really a material type.
it's
Right.
not our material type.
Yeah.
It's a service.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
And then I thought someone mentioned seeds as
Yeah.
well.
Seeds and art prints. I also think because they're in the first section, that information is already covered, especially with seeds because it's such a limited time that you're going to use it, and it is a very, like you don't come in and go, ooh, I want Weathering Heights and seeds. That's an extreme example. But, so it's not really, whether they use it is covered in the first question. If they check that they use it, then we know that they use it. And I think it kind of goes with the same with the art print collection. But if you're using it, then it's still not your preferred format of something.
But it
You know,
could be.
I would disagree with that. I used to check out our prints all the time. I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
so that was like sometimes the only thing we checked out,
But what would be your alternate format?
so.
Why does she need
I
one?
wouldn't, I
Because
probably
we're-
wouldn't come because it's a different, there's no alternative really, so.
And I guess that's why I would say it's under the non-traditional program services. I mean, it could also say materials if we're adding hotspot and Roku's. Those aren't services or programs.
Well, we're saying,
I mean, I
'cause
think with the seeds, it's right, it's kind of maybe a one time a year that you know,
Right.
like you don't
Yeah.
come
Mhm.
every week for seeds, but the other things you might come pretty regularly for, even for the, I mean, I don't know, do you have a limit on how often people can take out,
no limit.
you know, the Roku's or any of that kind of stuff?
But I think we have to think about why we're asking what we're asking. So you're referring to the question before, it's more about, we want to know what non-traditional items people are checking out, and maybe we find out it's just a couple of these. And the next question is about asking people what they regularly check out
Yeah.
on the regular. Like, I only come to the library and I only check out books, or I only come to the library and I only check out video games. You know, that's why we're asking it. I think seeds make sense to take off because it is seasonal. But art prints, like, I might be a real estate, like I'm a house, what do they call it, like stager, and I come here and I check out art prints to stage houses on the
Right.
regular all the time. So
Like-
that's why I'm gonna fight for that.
I think the seed library makes sense under programs because there's no other alternative way to use it. I could very well see someone looking at the art installations under programs and saying, well, yes, I come to the library and I enjoy the art installations. That doesn't mean that they're even aware that they can check them out. So there's still two different ways to utilize that, but I agree, the seed library is, you're not gonna come and, oh, let me look at these seeds. Yes, okay, got it. I'm
mean,
leaving now.
Should we change the art print collection to a different, to designate that it's maybe like 777?
I like that, the gallery
The
versus the art
gallery.
prints.
Or is that could be something else, sorry, I didn't mean to
But
go
I'm
backwards.
missing
So,
what you're saying.
I think the argument that they're only used in one certain way isn't valid because you can only use video games in one way. You can
Well,
only
that,
use.
that would be another one. I think all I'm saying about the art one is it's very possible that someone is here and while they're here thoroughly also enjoys looking at the art collection without ever actually checking it out.
But this, so
prints.
the art print collection is different than the gallery.
Right, but they may not know that.
True, but I think we're
And I
talking
don't-
about two. This is apples and oranges.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying is, this is part of the reason we want to survey that, because I don't think people fully understand that difference. If we're trying to promote both the non-traditional programs and the other alternative formats.
So that's why we have the gallery and the non-traditional.
No, that's why I'm saying it's a good thing.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's why I'm saying it should be in two places.
Okay,
I
all
was making the counterpoint to the seeds, like the seeds
Got
can
it.
come off of the programming, because nobody's really, like, the seeds are, like you said, the video games. You're only checking out the video game, there's no other alternative use.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, poor justification on my part. I'm saying the art collection should be in both, but I could see seeds and video games being in one or the other, not in both.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at.
I follow now.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Okay.
Okay, so on the question, on format, we are removing seeds and interlibrary alone, is what I have so far.
Oh, what's the percentage of checkouts that end up being interlibrary alone? And do they know when they're checking it out?
Yes.
They probably
Yes.
do, because
Yes.
it's not here.
It's a special request they have to
Right.
make
Yeah.
specifically with staff.
And it's wrapped with something so that they
The
know.
clubs.
Right.
With our
Clubs,
barcode.
So
Pretty much do it.
is it a large percentage?
I will email the committee on that,
Okay.
the percentage of interlibrary loan. It's small, but
Okay.
it's, it's certainly helpful for people.
Tatiana, I should probably know this, but where does Overdrive, Hoopla, where does all of that fit in? I don't see it because that's how I know it.
I'm so glad you said that, if I may.
And that's what I love, so I'm like, oh, we don't,
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Let's take out streaming movies and music. And instead of digital/downloadable books, magazines, news, can we just put digital materials such as Libby, Hoopla, Canopy, Press Reader,
We can.
please?
I think that's great, yeah, because
But-
that does feel, make you
I'm gonna
feel.
play the devil's advocate again, because I might not know what Hoopla and Libby are. So maybe we put digital materials such as Hoopla, Libby, Press Reader, and maybe in parentheses, like we do under preloaded digital devices, example, Kindles and Playaways, we do like a parentheses, like streaming movies or streaming music or something like that,
Sure.
that describes what
What it
Libby
is.
and,
Yeah.
okay?
Don't
So
forget
just-
Canopy.
Counterpoint,
But
if that's my format of choice,
Yeah.
I know what those things are. And if I don't know what they are, I don't need an example.
It's about normal, regular.
If you
Yeah.
use it, you know what it's called, because
Yeah.
you had to download the app.
Because if I'm a regular user, then I'll recognize it. If I don't, I just won't check the box.
but if someone hears that word,
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't have a clue until someone told me that it was
So,
called.
so that's
A long
why.
time ago now, too.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm for helping describe something, but if you don't think it's necessary.
I do think having like the digital, like downloadable material and then in parentheses doing the hoopla. and-
Oh, yeah. I think
Because
we all
I
agree
think
on
some
that.
people would, like seeing the app name, it's like, oh yes, I use that.
Isn't that similar, what's there already for preloaded digital devices?
Yeah.
Example, Kindles, Playaways.
If you're not a kid, you may not know what a Playaway is.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was too.
It's a company that makes
It's a-
launch pads
Oh.
and
Mhm.
audiobooks for children, but it's all preloaded, so you don't have to worry about having a player.
Oh, okay, oh, cool.
See, people are learning with this. So do we want a descriptor under digital downloadable materials or not? Like a parenthetical, this is what we need. Yes.
I vote for writing the names of the most popular ones. I don't think we need to add then the descriptor of what.
If it says digital downloadable materials,
Mhm.
such as.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that.
Do we want it to say downloadable? Because not all of it is downloadable.
Well, that's
It
why it's
says
digital
slash.
downloadable.
Okay,
You
cool.
can from some of those.
All right.
We could really get into
I say.
I know, in the weeds, guys, but
Yeah.
this is, this is good, so, John Q. Public understands what we're asking. Okay.
Why do we differentiate hardcover from paperback?
people have
Why?
a very strong opinion about
Oh,
this.
Very
yes, they
Just,
do.
just curious.
They do.
I also recently learned this. Because it is not something that is put into our catalog when we have a book. We just put that it's a book. And yeah, I had
Yeah, there
I had a
are-
selector request a way to know whether or not it was a paperback or.
There are strong opinions. Some libraries have removed like certain paperback collections, and some items are only printed in paperback, but that's a different story. But some libraries have removed stuff and they got so much feedback and they had to restock in paperback.
And it's not just paperbacks, like the mass market as
Yeah.
opposed to a regular size. It's just a regular size book in paperback or hardback, depending on whether or not it can fit in your purse or your bag, or you want to carry that
On
heavy of a
the
book.
train, and it'll be interesting for us to see, I
Okay.
think, and that's why we're asking.
All these things you didn't know. No. That is really interesting.
Yeah, I
mean,
no idea.
It is understandable, because like, it's the same thing on the inside, right? But like,
There are strong feelings,
Right.
Yeah.
believe me.
Formatted now.
Yeah, I can see that
Okay.
though, because like
I
thinking
love-
about my habits, I pretty much exclusively use my Kindle and paperback because I have arthritis. And the hardcovers are a lot harder to hold.
Yeah.
and heavier.
We have commuters
Accessibility,
who just want
yeah.
paper.
Tatiana,
Yeah.
please answer the question.
What was the decision on digital downloadable books, magazine, and
Such
news?
as,
Are we gonna put such as?
Yes, we are.
Can you add e-media to that? Because some people still use e-media because it has benefits.
So eMedia and Libby are the same, but Libby is the app. you could put e-media, because if you were pulling it up on a web browser,
Right.
you would see e-media, so that's fine.
I
Well, you
know
didn't even know
that.
that was a
Either,
thing.
I know.
Yeah.
You mean the
I'm learning
library?
so much tonight.
Wow.
Yes, we can have it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good with this page? Moving on. Okay. So I think the next one is pretty simple. Outside of the library, where in the district would you like staff to conduct outreach programs such as story times, library card registration, or digital instruction? Check all that apply. And then there's also there's a none of the above, there's also an other. So if someone thought of something else, and I didn't want to get too long because you
Yeah.
could list a million things, so I kept it very general. Okay, moving. The next one is the library is planning to develop a piece of land adjacent to the library for outdoor programs and general recreation. What amenities would you utilize in such a space? Check all that apply. So I put in the things that the board discussed as a group because we're already on that path, but we wanted more opinion from the public. We've got a none of the above, we have another. And I also have a recommendation from Karen, who is not here, but I will open it up for discussion now. Anything? Nothing?
I'm not sure mine coincides with Karen's.
Well, go ahead.
In the second part about developing a land adjacent, I think we might want to consider the fact that we already own the land. If you don't know that, you could construe this as we might be purchasing land.
And that's
very
what Karen said.
controversial.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had the
Yeah.
same
Okay.
recommendation to say that instead of saying planning to develop a piece of land, if we said planning to develop library-owned land or something like that.
Right, like
I think that's a great-
currently undeveloped library
Right.
property.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good term.
Yeah. We don't want people to think we're.
Right. Although I'm worried about the alternative, which is people are gonna go, wait, you own more property? Why?
Either way.
This
you
is
know,
why.
you know,
They're gonna find out soon
watch
enough.
into it, right? I
Yes,
know.
yeah, exactly.
And in that area with boxes.
Yes.
Do we want to add, or will it be a given that we'll have bike racks, or will we not?
Oh,
Well, there's,
I mean, is that?
we didn't, when we discussed this
We
in the
didn't,
board meeting, we
okay.
didn't bring it up, but we
No,
could
no,
add it.
that's just one thing I noticed. I'm late to the party apparently with the bike racks, but
Do we want to add that?
consider it, no, it's up to the group.
I don't know if we need to add it here. I mean,
Yeah.
isn't it just a given, like, that
Right,
you would just
you have
put
a
a bike
bike
rack
rack,
in?
yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, I think that just gets added into
fine.
whatever plan
Yeah,
we
but I think it
have.
definitely should be added to our plan.
Is it a given though?
I don't know that
There
that
are-
I would assume.
There are
that
no
there's
public
bike
parks in Lisle that have bike racks.
Really?
I've noticed that, if you see the
Wow.
kids' bikes laying all over and
I mean, maybe Sea Lion has
They
one.
do.
But every other park, at least
Community Park does.
all of the parks I've walked through in Green Trails have no bike racks.
Interesting.
Maybe we add that to the list of amenities people might want to see.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'd want to see it just for the fact that we don't want bikes laying around
Right.
I'm just-
during a program or
I don't think we
something, yeah.
can count it as a given though.
No,
So
I
if we
think, well,
if you guys
that's
want
a
it,
good
we should
point.
throw it
Well,
on there.
I didn't realize that.
I will put it there. Okay. Let us flip the page. Okay, next. Have you ever attended an outdoor program at the library, such as Summer Read Fall Fest or Outdoor Story Time? Depending on your answer, let us know what can make them better or why you never attended by selecting answers that apply. Again, you could go into a number of answers here, but I took the notes from our last meeting, threw them in here. We could add an other box. You think so, Paul?
Yeah, and the other box was my,
Like if someone else had another idea or another reason, we
Yeah.
could just open it up. We could whittle this list down. What do we think of what's in this list?
There's a question here or an answer. Depending on your answer, let us know what can make them better or why you never attended. They're all, there's some positive and some negative. So it's dates or times were not convenient, dates and times were convenient. So are we trying to figure out why they didn't go or why they did go?
Both. So if you didn't go, you'll check all the boxes of why you
Okay.
didn't. And if you did, you're gonna check all the boxes
Okay.
of why. And even if you did, you
Yeah.
could still say, you know, the weather negatively
Right.
affected the program or
Yeah.
whatever.
I think we could inadvertently get incorrect submissions because like dates and times were convenient or were not convenient. You might get someone crossing off all positives and a negative, and then you're trying to parse whether or not it was a correct answer or an inadvertent selection. So just having positive and negative responses in the question format is probably going to give us some things that may be hard to parse. I like the idea of just having the one way or the other. I unfortunately like most of the negatively worded questions because I think they push us toward not our justification for developing the property, but like hard to find parking, didn't know you had them, wish they weren't held in the parking lot, dates and times not convenient, weather negatively affected. So all of these things kind of speak to the question before, which is if we're going to develop that outdoor property, how do we do it such that we can also answer some of these issues about the outdoor programming? So that's recommendation there is probably simplifying it a little bit.
I do like how mixed it is though, because like I might love outdoor offerings, but not like them in a parking lot, right? Like I may hate outdoor programming, but like, you know what, the times were convenient.
Then maybe separating the positive ones from the negative one like entirely so that you've got all your positive answers and then below it all your negatives so they're not like right next to each other. I want to avoid it where people click or fill the wrong thing inadvertently and we get a poor survey result because of it.
What would the first question be?
So what I'm saying is if you just take, I love outdoor offerings, dates and times were convenient, do more outdoor programs.
You mean just group them?
Yeah, group them differently.
Okay.
Just rearrange the order so that all of your positive questions are first and all your negative questions are second, so that they're not like adjacent and only one word different, because somebody's inadvertently going to click the wrong thing, and it's easier if they're not sitting right next to each other.
Would it make sense?
So it's more of a
to
design than a.
Split it into two questions?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your answer, let us know what could make them better. I don't think there's anything outside of maybe wish they weren't held in the parking lot and the dates and times not convenient that give us actionable responses on something to do to make them better. Like we have to make inferences about the fact that dates and times weren't convenient to assume we have to change dates and times.
Thoughts? I mean, we could group them differently with like you're recommending, like putting the positives at the top or vice versa. Do you think that I think it solves what you're worried about, Josh.
Yeah.
But does it solve what we want from this question? Do we just keep the question the same and just group them into different sections?
I do really like the responses, though. I think they're good responses. I want to make sure that when they fill
We don't
those
get a
out.
mistake, yeah.
Well, and that it's like, it's actionable. It's something we can do about it.
Any other thoughts on this, anybody? Well, I'll do that for the next
Okay.
edit again. We'll see
Sure.
what it looks like, reread it, and positive and negative. Okay. Next question. Are you
Before we leave it,
Yes.
could we replace, everywhere that we have LLD, could we replace it with the library or the Lisle Library? I don't think people know what LLD means.
thoughts?
Can we define it at the very beginning of the survey maybe, or do we define it somewhere?
Well, we try to do it everywhere we go.
Yeah, where
Like,
people can see
wherever
it.
we put,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, at the very
front.
beginning, yeah. So at least it would help that, you know, you could refer back and
Yeah.
you don't think, I
I
guess
think-
digitally you can't really go back.
Well, if we
but-
talked, if you remember, the whole reason we went with LLD is because it encompasses more than just Lisle. So if we say Lisle Library, someone inside the district may think that they're not part of it. And I think
would
that was
say
the reason we went with
library,
that.
Because
Oh.
it took me forever to figure out that LLD meant Lisle Library District.
I don't have a strong feeling either way on this one.
We try to market it as much as possible, and anytime we put like either a packet together or something in writing that mentions the library multiple times, we always put in parentheses LLD, so it's an easier read when we're mentioning ourselves a lot. It's just, then it gets very long because we're mentioning the library. We could just use the word library if that's what you prefer. But Lisle Library District repeated throughout
I think
is a
it's
lot.
The intro you have, the Lisle Library District, parentheses LLD, I think that explanation enough.
It's kind of a mini attempt at our branding, with that being our name and all of our like summer read stuff. We'll have Lisle Library District or say LLD. So I mean, maybe to Liz's point, we need to take a harder look at all of our stuff and make sure we're really getting that out there. But that is why I think why we did it is because we really try to push that like as our name in the community.
In conjunction with our full name.
Same thing
We
with
do
all
a lot of it.
the yard signs where we
Yeah,
have
all of our yard
LLD.
signs have LLD.
LLD.
Will we have the little logo square on each page?
We can,
That way,
yeah, we
that
can.
way you know automatically it's in there. I think we should anyway to show that it's our proprietary property.
Well, yeah.
You don't want to, anyway, I think that would help.
Other thoughts on the acronym?
I think defining it up front is sufficient, and I think of, other entities like LES, we know that's Lisle Elementary School, once you see it once, they're doing the same thing, so I'm fine with LLD.
You okay with that, Liz?
You're not gonna convince me, so go on.
Okay. All right, so moving on. The next question is about subscribing to our eBlast or email notifications. Depending on your answer, let us know how to make eBlast better and how they've helped you by checking the answers that apply. Again, we can group, again, if we like.
Are
or
the
not.
first questions supposed to be, or the first answer supposed to be the yes? Because we're asking them effectively a yes or no question and then not giving them a place to say yes or no.
Well, that would be 2 questions. So I combined a lot of these, but we
Right.
can do 2 questions if we
Well,
want.
I don't think we need it. This one and the previous one, it's asking them specifically, are you subscribed, yes or no? And then if you come down to the responses, I guess you would parse that you love receiving it, or no because you get too many emails, or you never knew you provided email notifications. So it just,
So do
I
we
can
even
see
have to
how you
ask the question?
consolidated it. Yeah, and I think that goes to what you were saying about maybe simplifying some of the preamble to the questions.
Yeah.
So we don't need to ask them this, we just need to simplify the question more.
Right,
About
right.
eBlast.
Yeah, let us know
or-
your thoughts about the LLD's e-blast.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that works.
Will you provide an area for their answer as far as how to make it better?
Well, these are gonna help us make it better.
Oh,
Well, does that?
oh, I see what you're saying. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Like something
want
more
like an
along the
other?
lines. I don't think we need an other, but I think just changing the format a little bit to say,
Yes, the
select
question.
from these options to help us improve the communication. Something like that. Because I think the fewer free response questions we have, the better.
Yes.
They're a survey nightmare.
Okay, yes. All right. Are we good with moving on, folks? Okay. Next is what types of library volunteerism are you interested in? Check all that apply. Very simple. I'm not interested. Youth or teen, because that's one department's responsibilities, or adult, which is one department's responsibilities. And then, or being a part of a support organization such as Friends or Foundation.
Once again,
Yes.
What was it?
Thunderstorm.
Warning?
Thunderstorms?
Yeah.
Okay. Possible thunderstorms.
what does voluntary entail? For my inference, are there different activities?
Yes.
I
So
mean,
we have volunteer forms on our website, and it
Okay.
lists out the types of volunteering you can
Okay.
provide. So whether you're home delivery volunteer, or if you're helping like clean shelves or cut paper, those kind of things.
Is that not, we wouldn't want to get that detailed? And then, I'm just
We could,
asking.
what we can do is what, I forget, I think it was Vanessa recommended, like maybe providing a link to like our volunteer page. So if
Oh,
people
yeah,
wanted
that's a
to
good
like,
idea.
Mhm.
That would be helpful.
yes, good point.
Yeah, I feel like you could do that for the e-blast too, like link it to the sign up.
Good point. Where's my ink? Okay. Paper is sticking. Okay. Then we get to the demographic question.
This is, I think you got it. You did exactly what I was saying. Please let us know a little bit more about yourself
Yes.
via the next 4 questions.
Yes,
Perfect, there it is.
So that's the introduction to
Right.
demographics.
Yeah.
And so we just divide up the ages and then we have a prefer not to answer, and that's pretty much on all of these.
Mhm.
I don't think do we have questions about the age ranges? Okay. Moving on, including yourself, how many people currently live in your household? That's pretty basic. Next, here's my piece of art for everybody.
I really like this, by the way. I think it's,
I tried
That's
to keep
fantastic.
it pretty chunky so that we have big chunks and not too divided up. But if you know Route 53, Ogden and Maple, and you know where the library is and you know where the train is, you're in one of these sections. So we just want to know where our folks are who are taking these.
the only thing I would say is,
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're dividing 1, 2, 3, and 4 by Ogden or the train tracks. And I know you've got it down below, but people aren't gonna read that, they're gonna look at the map. So the only thing I would say maybe is make the train tracks really small, because that's not actually the dividing line.
Thoughts? Fainter, smaller?
Yeah, because when I looked at it at first, I'm like, oh, the train tracks, that's an interesting dividing line. And then I looked at the description, I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's actually Ogden, which makes sense. So it's a good frame of reference, but people are gonna go, yeah, I'm south of the train tracks, I'm in 4. I'm north of the train tracks, I'm in 2.
Oh, I see. Maybe making them more faint. I just know
Yeah.
that some people do orient themselves
Yeah,
with the
yes,
train.
I think it is helpful, and if people read, they will see the correct answers, but people also don't read. They're going to look at 4 and find section 4 and check the box. So,
Even if you just bump the numbers up a little bit
Yeah,
to
you could
be
do
more
that
like
too.
overlapping of the tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll make them fainter, I'll bump up the
Yeah.
numbers, and we'll go from there. Okay.
but I'm really interested in the answers to this question.
Okay.
So,
All right, next page. What languages are spoken or signed at home? Check all that apply. And then there's obviously an other, because I couldn't list all the languages. These are the top. Unless somebody thinks I need to put something else there. No. And then we had, at the last meeting, we wanted to know how the library met people's needs. We wanted a question that asked survey respondents if we meet your needs. So this is a range question, and then below that is if it was something lower than a 3, we want to know how we can better serve you.
sorry, on the previous question.
Sure.
Do we have like DuPage County demographics on languages or
languages.
nationality?
That's where this
Is that what that is? Did you say
Yes.
that? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I completely missed that as I was reading the
Yes.
languages, so.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we've got the range here of how we are meeting your needs, and then below that is anything lower than a 3, let us know how we can better serve you or your family. Good to go on this?
Will you link how many people are in your family as to how it meets your needs? So, and then again, your age. I mean, so if you read mine, you don't know who I am, it's anonymous.
We'd be able to do that in Google Forms.
No, I'm
where
just
you can kinda
curious,
track.
because it'll meet my needs, 2 people, kids are gone, whatever. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So are we going to compile that somehow, that?
Well, anybody who ranked it low, we could look at that data and see.
Okay. Because that may explain why. it
Right, who are we
ranks
not
low.
serving? Right, right.
Right.
Right. Okay. And I think this is the last one. Yeah, thank you for helping us. If you have anything else, do we want an open-ended last question? This is just a catch-all, and I just threw it in there for discussion purposes.
I think it helps because if somebody's read the whole thing and they were like, oh, but they never asked me about this. It would give somebody the opportunity, and it's not gonna be a required, it's not, you know. I would think we probably wouldn't get a whole lot there, but you never know.
You're either gonna get the really positive, nice people that are just, we love Lisle, or somebody who's been wronged, you know, that we probably couldn't fix no matter what, you know.
The other
But,
option-
you know, I feel like you do still have to ask it.
The other option for something like this, if we didn't want to have an open-ended question where we had a lot of, because there's some other open-ended questions, we could always say, if there's something in the survey that didn't, you know, touch what you wanted to express, we could leave like an email address or something. That's just
Like to
another way.
discuss more of.
Yeah. I mean, what do we like?
I think if someone's taking the time to go through the entire survey and get all the way in, and have something that's so pressing that they feel like they want to write down, leaving them a space to do so is fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
I like it.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Got through it. Lots of good recommendations. What I said before, at the beginning of this meeting is, I will take what we talked about today, create another draft. Hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have everybody here to provide a little bit more input. At the next meeting, we'll definitely have to like set a time and think about when we want to push it out there digitally as well as on paper, and talk about other ways to get people to participate. Not just putting out a survey, but also maybe sending out some information in the newsletter, some information via postcard if we want to go that route. Having the table talks, having people recommend taking the survey at different local organizational meetings and things like that. So we'll get to that next go round. Sound good? Okay, thank you.
Last item is to adjourn. May I have a motion and a second?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
7:52 PM.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tatiana.
Yeah.